Margaret Sanger was a huge name in public health as she devoted her life to legalizing birth control and making it universally available for women. Margaret always had the idea in her head of a magic pill women could use for contraception and sought to make it a reality. Margaret was an American birth control activist, sex educator, writer, and nurse. She popularized the term birth control and helped women all over the world have a say in family planning. In the early 20th century, Margaret Sanger published 8 issues of a feminist magazine called The Woman Rebel. During this time, the discussion of sex education, birth control, and abortion were illegal. The magazine featured literary pieces on topics like women's rights, love and marriage, women in the workplace, reproductive and sexual education, and contraception. Through the magazine, Sanger sought to convince female readers to reject their oppression and become what she called woman rebels. Sanger wrote many things and used her writings and speeches to primarily promote her way of thinking. She was prosecuted for her book Family Limitation under the Comstock Act in 1914. She was afraid of what would happen, so she fled to Britain until she knew it was safe to return to the United States. In 1916, Sanger opened the first birth control clinic in the United States, which led to her arrest for distributing information on contraception after an undercover policewoman bought a copy of her pamphlet on family planning. Her subsequent trial and appeal generated controversy. Sanger felt in order for women to have a more equal footing in society and lead healthier lives, she needed to be able to determine when to bear children. She also wanted to prevent so-called back alley abortions, which were common in the time because abortions were illegal in the United States. She believed that while abortion may be a viable option in life-threatening situations for the pregnant, it should generally be avoided. She considered contraception to be the only practical way to avoid them. In 1921, Sanger founded the American Birth Control League, which later became Planned Parenthood Federation of America. In New York City, she organized the first birth control clinic to be staffed by all female doctors, as well as a clinic in Harlem, which had an all-African American advisory council, where African American staff were later added. In 1929, she formed the National Committee on Federation Legislation for Birth Control, which served as a focal point of her lobbying efforts to legalize contraception in the United States. From 1952 to 1959, Sanger served as president of the International Planned Parenthood Federation. In Griswold v. Connecticut, the Supreme Court's ruling marked the beginning of an era of change for sexual and reproductive rights in the United States, ruling that the states had no right to ban contraception for married couples. In Roe v. Wade, this was a landmark decision of the United States Supreme Court in which the court ruled that the Constitution of the United States protects a woman's liberty to choose to have an abortion without excessive government restriction. In the year 1900, the first standard certificate of death was created. In 1914, Margaret Sanger was arrested for distributing birth control information. In 1915, the first federal birth control registration area was created. In 1916, the first birth control clinic was opened in Brooklyn, New York, which was closed 10 days later by the New York Vice Squad. In 1925, the first manufacturer of the United States of diaphragms. In 1928, the timing of ovulation was established. In 1937, the American Medical Association endorses birth control. Also in 1937, the first state, which was North Carolina, includes birth control in a public health program. In 1942, Planned Parenthood Federation of America was established. In 1955, the first national fertility survey was conducted. In 1960, the first birth control pill was approved by the Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA. Also in 1960, the intrauterine device, or IUD, was approved by the FDA. In 1965, the Supreme Court in Griswold v. Connecticut declares unconstitutional state laws prohibiting contraceptive use by married couples. In 1970, the Family Planning Services and Population Research Act creates Title X of the Public Health Service Act. In 1972, Medicaid funding for family planning services was authorized. In 1973, the Supreme Court in Roe v. Wade legalizes abortion. In 1973, the first national survey of family growth was conducted. In 1990, Norplant was approved by the FDA. In 1992, Depo-Provera was approved by the FDA. In 1993, the female condom was approved by the FDA. And in 1996,